7 p.m., March 1st, for the regular Bucyrus City Council meeting. Please rise for the pledge. Aaron, would you lead us, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
McKeever,
Here.
Myers,
Here.
Wireball,
Here.
Potter,
Here.
Sherrick,
Here.
Spiegel,
Here.
Young.
Here.
All right. Granting permission for visitors to speak. Step up to the podium and state your name and address, please.
Name's Ray Thidoff, 210 Ethel Street, Bucyrus. Had a quick question, hoping you can answer it real quick. Crawford, the Honey Creek wind turbine project going on north of Bucyrus here. I was wondering, is the city involved in any way in any decisions, or with it being that close to the city limits, there's no input or nothing from the city?
We haven't been approached.
Really?
We haven't been approached.
Yeah, go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, we have not been involved in any decision-making or have been approached by either side.
Is the city aware how close it is to Othwaite Reservoir and all the land has been leased already for the project?
We have not been informed of any, anything like that, no.
Okay. Have you, anybody seen the, okay. So you realize how close it is to Route 30 and the city limits and the reservoirs, and no one's ever approached you for anything on that?
No.
Okay.
Just other than being stopped downtown at Candlelight Christmas to sign a petition.
Right.
I knew they were meeting down there. That's the only contact we've had with anyone. As far as I know, I thought too was the commissioners had the last say on that.
Right, but
And
should the city be asking questions with it being that close? I mean,
well, I didn't realize it was that close. I thought the two sides were just fighting it out, so.
because my understanding, they're going to be bringing in trucks, machinery.
Yeah.
They got to dig down, to put these footers in for these things. They're supposed to be like 600 feet
Yeah,
tall.
I'll reach out to the commissioners and, see what they know about it.
I mean, I don't know how that's going to
Yeah.
work around the reservoirs and the industrial park. There's the property right across from the track is already signed, leased for that.
Potential lease, right?
Not according to this.
Well, it's a potential lease unless the commissioners approve it.
It says based on leases filed with the Crawford County Recorder.
Okay, I can check into it.
And all these yellow ones are leases filed with the Crawford County Recorder.
As far as I knew, the last of the commissioners still hadn't decided if they
Right.
were going to allow
I mean,
it,
if
so
they go
that's the
and
last
decide
I
it,
heard.
You guys haven't asked any questions, and it's
Yeah.
going to affect the city.
Yeah.
It's going to be too late.
I actually don't think there's anything that we can do if it's not on city property.
I doubt there is. I think Aaron's right there, but I'll be happy to check into it and report back to council. Yeah.
I was gonna suggest, if I may, though, because of his concern of it impeding on, maybe let's go ahead and refer it to Public Lands and Buildings so that if there's any further discussion we wanna have, wouldn't be bad to have it in committee and that way we can have that discussion.
I'll second that.
I mean, so some of you have looked at this map and seen that it's right on the city limits. So, okay, thanks.
Excuse me, may I?
Yes,
How
sir.
close is it, where is it at coming to the city limits?
Look at this real quick.
I've never seen the map.
Ink pen, Route 30 right there. You can see the industrial park I circled, and I circled Othwaite Reservoir. And all those yellow boxes, it says right at the top, that are leases filed with the county, so. You see Route 30 right there. I couldn't tell where the city limits or where the corporation limits are on that map.
Sure. Thank you.
Yep.
You see it?
Can I?
Sure.
And where's that map from?
I got this actually up at Randy's Tire, I think last
I mean,
weekend.
who put out the map?
That's the Crawford anti-wind.
Okay. So, yeah.
But I'm sure they got it. Maybe
Oh,
off.
I'm sure they are right.
It's not something they made, obviously.
You hear a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it
I
came
don't
from
think,
recorder's office, maybe.
that's one of those things, I don't think we get the whole
full story from either side, so.
I'm saying maybe we should start asking questions. That was my thing.
Well, I have a motion to refer this to Public Lands and Buildings in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye, no need to do it, in my opinion.
I'm not saying we're going to have anything with it. I mean,
So I have 5 ayes, 2 nays.
You okay?
I'm going to,
You're a nay? Okay. Any other public participation? All right, moving on. You have before you the minutes from February 15th, regular council meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any communication to petitions? No. Moving on. Standing committee reports, plating,
I do not have
Public Lands and Buildings.
I know that Mr. Wireball got us another list to look over about the dumpster issue, but we haven't heard much else about whether or not we're getting anybody together to figure out how we can fix it. But other than that, nothing.
Health and safety,
No report.
finance,
Yeah, Finance, we met February 17th, 2022. We began at 6 PM. All members were present except Mark McKeever. We approved the minutes from the previous meeting. We discussed traffic light project that was approved for $500,000 in this year's budget. We discussed the EPA stormwater fee, and the committee decided to continue it for another 5 years. This is pending in tonight's legislation. We discussed economic development in Bucyrus and the role that the partnership plays. We got some questions answered about the proposed splash pad. We discussed 3 appropriations brought to us by the auditor. The committee approved these, and they are pending in tonight's legislation, and we adjourned at 6:38 PM.
thank you. Economic development,
I have nothing to report.
all right. Service,
The only thing I want to report is that at our meeting on Thursday, we'll be addressing the stormwater ordinance. And if you guys got a copy of that on an email back in February, I think the 15th. So you need to look that over before you come in, because it's pretty intense. So other than that, I have nothing else.
okay, thank you. Traffic commission, all
Nothing to report, ma'am.
right. Report to city officers, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'm going to deliver my annual State of the City address, but before I do, I'd like to ask everybody to pause for a moment in silent prayer for the people of Ukraine who are in a very difficult, very courageous fight for their freedom. So we need to be with them and be thinking about them and keeping them in prayer. Thank you. I'll begin just to say an obvious thing. 2021 was a very unique and dynamic year in the history of the city of Bucyrus. We celebrated our bicentennial, and many things went on there. I want to go over a few of those tonight. We began planning for that bicentennial way back in 2018. The commission and involved citizens participated in that. It was a year-long celebration, and like many bicentennials that have been celebrated were basically weekends. But I think what happened here last year in Bucyrus was unrivaled in our history. Began with the Templeton Whiskey event, which was a lot of fun at the Speakeasy. And if you stayed till the very end, you saw the ghost of Al Capone made an appearance. And it ended with a very fun-filled night at Pickwick Place as we celebrated the gala, and then as well at Shines Art Park, where we had the very first ever New Year's Eve bratwurst drop. The events in between include the kickoff event in May and the homecoming weekend celebration in July. all lots of fun. I know many of you attended those events. Maybe some of you attended all the events. Couldn't have been possible to celebrate the success without support from the many sponsors and individual volunteers and donors too. Bicentennial Commission, they met for hundreds and hundreds of hours to make this celebration special, and they surpassed every goal they set, and their goals were lofty. Kelly Patterson was the chair of the commission, and she's very unique leadership skills, very positive and energetic person. Everybody on the commission responded well to her leadership. Other folks involved, Elaine Naples, former resident, who lives in Texas and was very involved with it, did a wonderful job. Randy Fisher, of course, Rhonda Rowland, another ball of energy, Debbie Gifford, Fred Fisher, Emma Crawford, Cherokee Morrison from our office, Mary Ellen Luss and Linda Blicky also served on the commission. They shared hours of their time and talent. Additionally, we are grateful to our honorary chairs, Denny and Sue Ann Norton, for their inspiration and encouragement during the planning stages and during the bicentennial year. They were present at every event and meeting, too, beginning with the 2019 kickoff, where we planted some trees, and they ended with the gala, although because of the illness, they had to be there virtually for that. The Norton legacy is alive and well in Bucyrus, thanks to Denny and Sue and family, and I think it was really awesome at the parade to see so many of them in the Founders Day parade. So we're indebted to the Nortons and all who spent many hours making our birthday celebration a smashing success. Thank you. The theme of the bicentennial, as you know, is community unity. A challenge that we face as civic leaders here is to how to involve citizens in our local activities, to take ownership of their town, especially in times of so many other distractions, including all the TV stations we have and social media. I've said numerous times that all of us are immigrants to Bucyrus. Every family here is an immigrant. They came for a certain reason. There are very few Norton descendants still here, although there are some. Our burden is to make our town attractive, safe, and friendly place to raise a family and to engage our citizens to become Bucyrians by getting involved. Never lose sight of that obligation. The city cannot do it alone. It needs everyone to be involved. We need good churches, civic organizations, and employers all working to make the quality of life in Bucyrus the best it can be. And we hope that the benefits of this successful year-long bicentennial celebration will resonate for years to come. The legacy projects continue. With main project, as you know, being the Norton Bicentennial Park, we're making some progress. It was awesome to see the decrepit restaurant come down. Fundraising and grant applications are ongoing for the rest of the park. It's going to be a beautiful gem for Bucyrus, especially just north of downtown. And when it's completed, it'll be evidence to our residents and to those who drive through and may be looking for a new place to live that we are serious about improving our community and being an admired small town. On that same note, downtown renewal has always been on my mind for many years. We have an excellent downtown. I hope you all get to drive around different downtowns and see that ours stands up very well, but we cannot rest on our laurels. We got some beautiful historic buildings, and most of them are occupied, even through the pandemic. It's taken some toll on small businesses nationwide, but for so far we seem to have weathered the storm. Many towns our size have not been as fortunate, so we don't want to rest on the fortune that we've been given, but we need to look at how we can continue to improve our business district and be able to attract more businesses and shoppers. I would like to form a committee of business owners and citizens to study the plan from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources they did right before the pandemic to bring some green space to our downtown business district, which is lacking now. Looking ahead, we'll need to address the islands on the Washington Square, which are becoming a bit overgrown, and will need some replacement. And I will form another committee for that to give recommendations on this project as well. We have been working very hard to reestablish the tree canopy in Bucyrus. Took a nice bump last year with thanks to the Cathcart family, who were our first really major donors to the bicentennial, and gave us enough money to plant 200 trees. And we have planted quite a few. I don't remember the exact number how many we planted this fall, but it's enough that got us a good start, and we're going to continue to plant the 200 over the next 2 years. So the program provides a free tree to residents of Bucyrus who had called up, and I think we're pretty much at our limit right now, if I'm correct, John. We can check on that too. The Norton Grove was created at All Miller Park at the entrance by the footbridge there off of Gay Street to honor our founders, and was completed last fall. We're very proud of that. A lot of trees were pruned. Maybe you saw an article in the paper. Mr. Rostash up there was leading the group in pruning trees. We've also been removing diseased trees. We continue to do that, as well as stumps too. An effective tree commission looks not just at plantings, but management of the canopy and planting the right trees and removing and pruning is very important. Last summer we were very busy, spent hundreds of hours watering trees, keeping them alive, and I think we did a pretty good job there. We thank Valerie Sprang, Mary Lee Miner, John Rostash, Brad Van Voris, and our president, Jeff Panovich. Without going into a lot of detail, trees provide a tremendous psychological and environmental benefit to our citizens, and we thank you, City Council, for funding this worthwhile program. Laura McGinnis was here, as Terry mentioned, I think, a couple of weeks ago regarding the status of the consent decree, and we worked very hard on that in 2021 to negotiate on the second phase of that, and that's going to continue. And we'll keep you informed on that. Someone asked about how much the city was separated, and it's a little over 50% at this time. So I wanted to make sure we mentioned that. We were fortunate to receive a grant from the state for $209,000 for an engineering study for the northwest trunk line modifications, and we just signed up for that. So water expansion continued. One of our priorities was to set a goal of selling our water outside the city so as to make our plant more efficient, as well as share the expense of paying back that plant. So good news, Stetzer Road expansion began. We put the shovel in the ground in the fall. There were some delays, obviously, for COVID-related issues, but they're testing the lines now and should be having water pretty darn soon. We meet monthly with Nevada residents, and that is on schedule, and we look to get that started this year too. Sulphur Springs and Osceola lines are also on our list. A big thank yous go to the county commissioners for having the vision to use the maybe once in a generation ARPA funds to take care of some of those things, critical water supply. So we thank them. As you know, they paid 80% of these projects, and the city's paying the other 20. And also grateful for the forward-thinking vision of city council members who approved those projects. We said goodbye to longtime law director Robert Ratliff, who happens to be celebrating his birthday today. So, happy birthday, Rob. He took a job in Louisiana. If I know him, he's probably at Mardi Gras tonight. He's now a federal immigration judge. Mr. Ratliff did some very important work for the city while in the office, and strong work with the Community Improvement Corporation, especially, and if you remember the trailer park that was there for many, Rob pretty much took that under his wing and got that done. We wish him the best of luck and thank him for his service. Brian Gernert is our new attorney and brings a very steady hand, very impressive young lawyer, and very smart, and we give him our support. He's actually suffering from a pretty bad cold tonight, so we thank him for taking the job and hope he gets well soon. The ARPA funding I mentioned earlier, we received the first tranche of that in May. Initially, we were supposed to get $2.4 million. The state cut that in half and distributed our funds and funds of all towns of under 50,000 to townships. So all the townships got funding now. So we actually got 1.2. The first half was about a little over 600,000, and wasn't happy about it. I know mayors of towns our size were very unhappy about it, but as somehow the political winds blow, the representatives and senates have township people that they have to, so I can understand why they did it, but it was a deep disappointment, and they promised to create some additional funding over time, and that's how we got the $209,000. So that was good for us. We'll keep a very close eye on those grants that are coming down the line and make sure we apply for those. As you know, we use the first distribution for the purchase of safety force vehicles, an ambulance, and some cars. And you know about the other plans, which we're trying to work on some quality of life improvements. It's been tough to get those quality of life improvements funded for many years, but with this, it's going to be some things that every citizen in Bucyrus can use, as well as we can bring other people into town. Splash Park as well as the trails too. Kiwanis is working on the funding right now for the Splash Park, so as that gets reimbursed, we can redistribute those funds as council sees fit. And they extended the time on that. It used to be until the end of 2024, now it's the end of 2026 to spend those issues. You know, we struggle with housing issues, you know, for many reasons. We don't have a lot of builders here, and probably don't have a whole lot of buildable lots. And we also have been tearing some houses down through the land bank, houses that were unable to repair. You know, we've talked about this with several members of council. If we were to begin growing again, we need to address this issue. We did a housing study here in 2020 and showed what our needs are. Our occupancy rate is about 100% for apartments, and we have very, very few homes available to purchase. So I'm just going to throw this out. We need to look at some options of what is available to the city and to builders, possibly partnering to develop some of the areas in the city with new roads and new sewers. It's beginning extremely expensive to do that. Almost cost prohibitive to builders to be able, who have in the past had to put in these roads and sewers and then sell lots to make up for that. And those are things we have to look at very closely, the cost of what that is, if it's going to be anything even a builder can afford to do. So as the federal government distributes infrastructure money, I think we need to look very strongly at that, whether it's in the form of grants or in the form of just tranches of funds like the ARPA, that we can look at put that on the list to look at, and I would like to refer that discussion of possible areas that we can develop within the city limits and just maybe get a plan there. So at least put it on everyone's radar. Income tax revenue was excellent last year for the first year in many, many years. We've been kind of treading water since 2016, and it was very encouraging. And we're up a little bit this year too. So this is we call it a watershed year actually. If we can maintain that, that'll make a big difference in the city. And so far so good. First 2 months have been up both months. As you know, with safety forces especially, there's upward pressure on wages, and there's a movement in the state legislature to increase their pensions significantly. And so all those things are going to add up. So the economic conditions, you all know, and some of you that own businesses that are here tonight, they've had profound effects on the local economy that we're still feeling today, and maybe in different forms, especially right now with supply chain issues. I know most people are having some supply chain issues, whether grocery stores or clothing stores or just about anything that sources outside of the local area. Thank goodness our business are typically people that go into small businesses are very resilient, or they wouldn't be going in there. They want to work a lot of hours, and they put in what they feel they need to. We've had new businesses opening last year, just down here in Sandusky. We've got several new businesses in South Sandusky, and it's always some turnover, obviously, but I'm very encouraged. Aldi opened up last year, which we had been working on for many, many years with Aldi, so we're glad we thank everyone, large and small, for their investment in Bucyrus. Payroll protection plans were very helpful in keeping folks in business, especially during the early part of the viruses. And the good news is everyone's looking for workers. I mean, they're hiring, and it's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out as the shortage of workers. We're all competing for workers as all that shakes out here in the next year or two. I've talked about the effects of COVID-19 on Bucyrus. It's been almost two years now since our initial cases. I think Chief Kepke actually had one of the early cases. We're all fatigued by it, and we're ready for it to move on. Thank goodness Omicron has waned, and we're ready. I think everybody's ready to get going. Vaccine and boosters certainly were effective in preventing death, especially you can see that during the Omicron pandemic, excuse me. We do remain still one of the lower populations for vaccines. And I do want to say that we are extremely grateful to Crawford County Health Department, Avita Health, Ohio Health Systems, Wise Funeral Homes, Munz Pernstal Funeral Services for their courageous work and being on the front lines. I know all of you probably have been to funeral homes or have been touched by families that have had COVID, and it's been a very difficult time for us. We extend our sympathy to all who lost loved ones and those who are still dealing with the effects of COVID. EMS began in November, and we debated that for many, many years, and we took it on in November. Our department is getting rave reviews, and they give very professional, exceptional service to the community. And we also were fortunate to contract with several townships to provide EMS service. One of trustees stopped me today when they were here and said how well it's working out, and I thanked them for that, for the positive feedback. It's great to have a more consistent service. It's good for our residents to be able to have that. And I thank Chief Schwemley and the entire staff. They're all doing a great job. Park systems, I want to talk just a moment or so about that. Seen a lot of use during the pandemic, very busy. We need good park systems, and it's critical to attracting new residents and keeping them here. A few days ago, I toured the park and noticed how many citizens were out there. It was there Sunday again. Cold as it was, people out playing basketball and using Kids Kingdom, and it was on walking paths. All Miller is our main park, and it will be receiving a few more upgrades, but it's important that we look at all of our parks. Down in Harmon Field, like every night, the basketball court is full down there. Just kids are using that. Last year, if you remember, I made a presentation to City Council about the possibility of placing a small tax levy on the ballot, like many cities do, that's directly for the parks. And I think everyone was in agreement. It was going to be a good idea. We pulled it back for a couple reasons, but one reason I'll address here in just a moment. But I want to make sure that everyone here is aware of how important that we need to be committed to our parks. They are crucial to the success of the city, mental as well as physical health, and attracting new residents. Keep in mind, a park director would be a very good addition too. Okay, so income tax revenue increased in 2021, which was great. not really 100% sure why. And we think it's just the rising wages, so we hope it maintains. Some of the clouds I mentioned on the horizon are housing issues, and then aging population. Those are temporary roadblocks to growth. If we can address the housing issue, that would be wonderful here in the next 5 to 10 years. I think that would be a wonderful thing to do. But there's a lot of good building blocks in place. We have good employers. I think the partnership between the partnership and the school systems, preparing the students for the jobs that we have, I think that's critical. We're developing plans now to attract spin-off industries from the recently announced Intel plant that'll open in a few years, as we did with the Honda spin-off. We expect that to have a similar effect on Crawford County as Honda did. Safety forces now use about 70% of our income tax revenue. Like I mentioned earlier, there's upward pressure on those wages. We want to make sure we are able to maintain proper staffing and replace vehicles. Now, we've been fortunate because 2 ambulances we bought, we didn't really have to pay for. They were complements of CARES money and of ARPA money, but they're going to have to be replaced. And so the same with the fire truck, and police cars. The things do wear out. So I want to talk about a potential way to increase revenue without going back to the voters. And I've been doing some research on this. Many cities our size and larger who have our income level are at 2.25%, 2.5%. We're at 2%. I'd like to make sure we can keep it as 2 as long as we possibly can without going back to the voters. So I would like to present an idea about changing the credit that we give for income that's earned outside the city. We currently give 100% credit, up to 2% credit for anyone who lives in the city but works outside the city. And in doing research, we are the most generous city in our about a 40 to 50 mile area, except Tiffin is the only other one that gives full credit. And Marion gives 50%, Mansfield gives 50%, Kenton gives 0, Upper Sandusky gives 0, Fostoria gives 0 credit. I don't have my stats in front of me here, but most of them are, Crestline gives half, 50%, Gowing gives 50% credit. So basically what's in effect, I mean, if I'm looking at it, like I think we have citizens that are living here, working somewhere else and coming home, and they're enjoying all the services we provide, parks, safety forces, streets, and not paying anything. So, and I would like to, I'd like to actually ask council to strongly consider reducing the amount of this credit. And so we can raise some money and be able to fund our parks and our vehicles as we need them without going back to taxing all the voters. I think before we even do that, we have to strongly look at this issue. And I would like to refer that to the Finance Committee for discussion. So in closing, 2021 was a special year for City of Bucyrus. I was honored to have been the mayor for the bicentennial celebration, and I was extremely proud of this community and the people that put this on and attended the events. It presented Bucyrus, I think, as a model community. Someone made a comment today and I'll just ad-lib for just a second, at Rotary, how now who's working in here, and I won't name any names, but as she came here, she could see the pride in this community, and and I get comments like this quite often, but this was really a very heartfelt comment about how nice this community looks and how we're working hard to improve it, how it looks like home. I think, to use those exact words. I was very touched by that. We have challenges, as all leaders of communities do, and all communities do. But for 200 years, our citizens have risen to every occasion. We are tough people, caring people, hardworking folks, and we have tremendous support for each other. And you can see that in the way our organizations help each other out. The pandemic has been a time of great suffering, but also has been a time for personal growth. And that's going to benefit our community in the future. Good things do come out of challenging times. It does make you better. It does make you more united. But isn't it ironic that as we celebrated 200th birthday, we also had probably one of our most challenging years in history. I think our citizens are full of hope and optimism, and I would also like to add that we are grateful, and I think that's key. We are grateful for living here. We're grateful for our community, of the people that came before us. They sacrificed and the things they've done to make a successful and vibrant Ohio community. You guys are all part of that legacy, and all 12,000 citizens now are part of that legacy. We must focus on our responsibility individually and as leaders of this community in preserving, refining, and enhancing the Norton legacy that when they arrived here in 1819, so as to be faithful to that 200-year heritage. So may God continue to bless Bucyrus and all who work, live, and play here now and in the future as we begin our third century of the quintessential small-town living that is Bucyrus, Ohio. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was a very nice report.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Do we have anything from the Safety Service Director?
Yes. Can I take a 10-minute break? No, just kidding. No, never mind. Okay. Jeff's is not 6 pages long, so we would like to refer the Arrowhead Drive and Woodland Drive to Plating Committee. Those projects. We are ready on Thursday to discuss the ODOT salt purchase. The mill and pave program went out to bid. It's going to be done in 2 phases this year. The Woodlawn OPWC project also went out to bid. The Parcher Road letters were mailed out for commitment. We've had some calls on those already, and they're due by April 1st. And then, as I mentioned, Stetzer Road is being pressure tested, and we'll have some customers tied in here by the end of the month. We're looking for help. We're hiring like everybody else is. So if you know anyone who would like to be a lifeguard, and or we're also looking for part-time workers at All Miller Park and all our parks this summer. So just stop up at the mayor's office here to get an application. We talked about Nevada Waterline a little bit ago. It's moving forward. Meetings are very cordial, and we've got some good folks leading us along in that way. The RFQs for the airport are through Friday, I believe. Yes, Friday, March 4th. Yes, and they'll be coming in then. And we opened farmland bids this morning, and then we'll have Board of Control to award those bids sometime next week. That's Jeff's report.
All right, thank you very much. And Mr. Gurr is out sick. So we'll pass
Madam
there.
President,
Yes, sir.
do we want to make this referral?
3 if you count the ones from
Yeah.
his report.
Yeah.
Before
There's
we get
3?
lost.
Yeah, he had 2
I
and
got,
Jeff.
I've only got 3. There's 4?
I heard 3 in 2 in his report and 1 in Jeff's for total.
Okay, all right, so I have the 3.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have the housing issues to public lands and buildings.
I think that would go to plating,
Plating?
because he's talking about putting in infrastructure, plating and or
Okay.
service.
And service or and or?
not sure.
We'll just go ahead
It's
and
in
service
general.
too.
We could probably start with plating, so.
All right, so the housing issues to plating and service, the reduction of the tax credit to finance, and the Arrowhead and Woodland Drive to plating. So do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Madam President.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a resident on Oak Ridge Drive contacted me. This was back in February 16th. He sent me photos of property along Oak Ridge Drive that has a water issue when there's a large amount of rain, and it's up in their backyards.
Okay.
And really like to have the service director.
Okay, you want to give me the address now or later? Or
Huh?
you want me to give you the address now, or you want to wait?
Well, it's all of Oak Ridge
There's
Drive.
a whole lot out there. It's been brought to your attention several times.
But I got photos here that I'll show you later, and I can give
Yeah.
it to the rest of the council, but they'd like to have it addressed. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, there's been issues in there, and I'm not sure what the solution is there. I know we've talked about that. I'll-
It's between the properties at the
Yeah.
back, between Oak Ridge and,
Beal.
and also.
Yeah, I know.
And then there's some in between, and then there's some on the other side even.
Yeah, so there's a.
Okay, I'll email, like, I know we've discussed it, we haven't discussed it in a while, but I don't remember how that shook out with the engineer. We've had the engineer out there looking at that before, and I'm not sure what the solution, if there is a possible solution to that.
Okay.
So I'll let you know, follow up with it.
I really appreciate it.
Okay.
So would he.
Yeah,
Anybody else have any questions for the mayor? About his report or the safety service director's report? All right. Mrs. Schiffer?
Thank you, Madam President. I believe you were emailed the statement of cash position for February 28th, and you should have a copy in your packet of the income tax comparisons through February, and then the revenue tallies to budget. So they're here for your perusal, and if you have any questions, you can always contact me. And that's all I have this evening.
I don't think,
No referrals?
No referrals. Not tonight.
All right.
Don't fall over.
Well, thank you. Did we get the treasurers? No?
No.
Okay. All right. Police Chief Ossenheimer submitted a monthly report. In February of 2022, Bucyrus police officers were involved in a total of 680 incidents. There were 88 traffic stops in which 10 tickets were issued. Of those tickets, 8 were for driving under suspension. 2 were arrested for operating a vehicle while intoxicated. Officers made 1 felony drug arrest and 6 misdemeanor drug arrests in February. Officers responded to 37 domestic calls, 4 overdoses, 3 assaults, 14 traffic crashes, 5 private property crashes, 44 vehicle lockouts, and 17 larceny complaints. And dispatchers handled 16 emergency medical dispatch calls. And
This actually, he sent me 2 things, so this is with the fire department as well.
okay. You have in your packet the report summary from Chief Schwemley, and then there's also a med account. That's a separate sheet. All right. May I have a motion to accept the city officers' reports?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Granting permission for the public to speak about standing committee or special committee reports and the city officers. All right. Moving on, consideration for proposed legislation for the first time.
Sorry. Amending and supplementing ordinance number 12-2022, proposed ordinance, amending and supplementing ordinance number 54, 2021, being the annual appropriations ordinance for 2022 by appropriating from unappropriated general funds in the sum of $6,010.80 to the materials and supplies line item within the police department category and $12,487.98 to the capital outlay line item within the fire department category, with both line items and categories being within the program 1-security of persons and property subparagraph, and finally appropriating from unappropriated general funds the sum of $7,000 to the personal services line item within the auditor category with program 5, because I'm terrible at
7.
What? 7.
Oh, 7. General government subparagraph and declaring an emergency. Sorry, I have it backwards. Thanks. Amending and supplementing proposed ordinance number 13-2022, amending and supplementing section 925.03 entitled Rates under Chapter 925 entitled Sewer Services Charges, under Title 5 entitled Sewers, under 9 entitled Streets, Utilities, and Public Services Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Bucyrus.
Hang on. Can I have a motion to accept these as the first reading?
So moved.
I have a first by Aaron and a second by Mark. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any public participation for these first readings? Seeing none. Consideration of proposed legislation for the third time.
Ordinance number 10-2022, vacating a street being 128.13 feet in length on the west side and 128.21 feet in length on the east side, and 16.51 feet with beginning of at the south end of Inez Streets between part of Outlet 106 to the east part of the Outlet 107 to the south, and in lots 1106, 1107, and 1108 to the west. Proposed ordinance number 11-2022, an ordinance amending and supplementing section 919.05 of chapter 919 reservoirs of Title III Water of Part 9 Streets, Utilities, and Public Service Code of the Codified Ordinance of the City of Bucyrus, Ohio.
Can I have a motion to accept the third readings of those proposed legislation?
So moved.
Second.
I have a first by Terry and a second by Aaron. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any public participation on the proposed legislation for the third time? No. All right. Referring back to committee, proposed ordinance 12, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Talk about Inez Street now, yet,
Yes, you may.
okay.
I apologize.
You guys voting tonight about doing that?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Thank you,
All
Lucy.
right.
Okay.
Want to make sure.
Okay, referring back to originating committee, proposed ordinance 12-2022, referring back to finance, and proposed ordinance 13-2022, refer back to finance. Any public participation for those referrals? Okay. Committee report on pending legislation, proposed ordinance 12-2022, finance.
Finance is favorable to proposed ordinance 12-2022, various appropriations.
Proposed ordinance 13-2022, EPA stormwater fee.
It's Finance is favorable to proposed ordinance 13, 2022, the EPA stormwater fee.
Proposed ordinance 10.
Point of order, those don't
Yes.
need referred back. The
That's
next two.
correct, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. I forgot to mark it off there.
It's all right.
All right. Further consideration of pending legislation. Proposed ordinance 10-2022, subject vacating a portion of Inez Street. May I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Sherrick, a second by Young. I'm sorry, Potter.
Second by Potter?
Yes.
Okay. Sherrick?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Spiegel?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
McKeever?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Wireball?
Yes.
Ordinance number 10-2022 is duly adopted. All right. Proposed ordinance 11-2022, updated and amended. Thank you, Bucyrus Codified Ordinance 919.05. Golly, Neds. I got a first by McKeever,
Second.
a second by Myers.
McKeever?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Wireball?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Sherrick? Spiegel?
Yes.
Young?
Ordinance 11-2022 is duly adopted. Proposed ordinance 12-2022, appropriations. For the second and third readings of proposed ordinance 12-2022, do I hear a motion to suspend the rules, waive the readings of the caption and text, and declare an emergency?
So moved.
Who was the first? Okay, I got Wireball as the first,
Spiegel.
and Spiegel was second.
Wireball?
Yes.
Spiegel?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
McKeever?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Do I hear a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 12-2022?
So moved.
Second.
I have a first by McKeever, a second by Sherrick.
McKeever?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Spiegel?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Wireball?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Ordinance number 12-2022 is duly adopted. All right. Almost first reading. Okay. Do we have any old or unfinished business? Any new or miscellaneous business? And everyone is here. So we have referrals for the wind turbines to public lands and buildings, housing issues to plating and service, the reduction of the tax credit to finance, and Arrowhead and Woodland Drives to plating. Anybody else have any referrals? May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I have a first by McKeever, a second by Sherrick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 8:52. 7:52.
There we are.